If you apply these 5 different things to your life, you can completely change everything. If you're stuck in a rut, if you want to create better circumstances for yourself, or if you just want to improve and become outstanding or extraordinary in your life, then these 5 things will help you do that. So one of the first things that you need to create for yourself if you are wanting to create change is to create a compelling vision about what you desire. A lot of the times we feel like we're stuck in a rut, or we feel like we have a lack of energy, or we have no motivation or no drive because we don't really know exactly what direction we're going in. And even if we have an idea of where we want to be, a lot of the times that vision isn't compelling enough to make us make lasting change in order to actually manifest it or create it, because it usually takes a lot of action and it usually takes quite a lot of commitment towards change in order to achieve something. Sometimes our desires, in fact a lot of the times, they require us to change. They require us to take different action. And there's pain within change. There's pain within taking new action because we have to step outside of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone, even though we might not feel that comfortable in it, is sometimes more comfortable than the pain of change, than the commitment of committing to something new and stepping outside of our comfort zone. So a lot of the times we don't take action, or at least we don't take lasting, committed action towards change because we realize that's a little hard and it's kind of easier for me to stay in my current circumstances. And so we keep putting it off and we keep telling ourselves, I'm gonna wait for the right time. I'm gonna wait for the right time. But when we tell ourselves this, that's only an excuse of feeling more comfortable in the present moment and knowing that it's going to take a little bit of discomfort to move towards something new. And so when we want to break this pattern, it's going to require creating such a compelling vision that your new future and the discomfort it might take to get there outweighs the comfort of your present moment. Sometimes we get stuck in bad relationships, toxic relationships, or we get stuck in a job that we don't like, or we get stuck in unfavorable circumstances because the comfort of that discomfort outweighs the discomfort of making change, outweighs the discomfort of stepping outside of the comfort zone. We're comfortable with the familiar, even though the familiar might be uncomfortable. Familiar is usually more comfortable than stepping outside of your comfort zone instead of stepping inside of something new and creating a new pattern for yourself. The body is usually programmed based on our comforts. The body is so familiar with certain comforts that when we come home after a long day and maybe our current pattern is just turning on the TV and, relaxing and decompressing for the next few hours, usually that comfort outweighs the discomfort of making a new pattern and working on your dreams. That's a whole entire new pattern. And so the solution to this is creating such a compelling vision that it makes you want to wake up every morning and wake up early and to just get started right on it, to dive right into it. When we have such a compelling vision that is so exciting for us that it fuels us with energy, this is going to be where stepping outside of your comfort zone is a no-brainer. You're just like, I have to do this. I have to. I'm so excited about it. I want to learn. I want to dive into it. And this is also going to be the energy that helps you overcome any challenge that may await you along the way. So then the question is, how do we create this super compelling vision? This is where we have to ask ourselves, okay, what do I really, really want? What would actually be exciting for me? And sometimes this requires getting into a positive state first. Sometimes when we're in a negative state and we try to do this, we're like, I don't want anything. But then start to really just ask yourself, what makes me feel good? What life could be so amazing for me? And get back into the energy of being a child again. Because when we're kids, we don't have all these belief systems that says, I can't be an astronaut, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. As a kid, we tend to be really dreamy. We tend to think outside of the box. And when we get older, sometimes we reach certain failures and our box becomes smaller, and we start expecting smaller and smaller things for ourselves. And we limit our way of thinking. We limit what we could achieve. But one of the most amazing things that you can realize is that you have the power to achieve anything. So awaken that inner child again and ask yourself, what would I really love to experience? What would I love to experience? And build on that vision. Continue building on it till it becomes so clear until it becomes so compelling that you're so excited to wake up every morning and get started on it. That's going to be something that is going to shift your life incredibly. The next thing that I want to talk about is changing your perspective on life and your perspective on yourself. Your perspective on life, what I mean by that is, how do you see life? Do you see life as a battle? Do you see life as a struggle? Do you see life as a dance? Because all of these different things are going to lead to a much different filter and perspective through everything that you experience. So for example, if you see life as a struggle and you have that filter on, no matter what you experience, it's always going to pass through the filter of struggle. No matter what is going on in your life, even if it's something small, if you see life as a struggle and some small kind of maybe inconvenient thing happens to you, and if it passes through that filter of struggle, you're going to be, damn, this is a struggle. Damn, this is a struggle. Even if it's a minor inconvenience. If you have the perspective of life as a struggle, every experience that you have is going to pass through that. Even a positive experience may pass through that filter of struggle, and it's going to paint it slightly differently than if you saw life as maybe a dance. So let's see, if we change our perspective of life and we saw life more as a dance rather than a struggle. In a dance, even if you fall, even if you tumble or you make a mistake, if life is a dance, you see that as a beautiful, maybe transition to something new. Even if we're dancing and we fall and take a tumble, if we continue to see life as that dance, that tumble may just be a transition into a brand new movement that we can then utilize. It can be a moment of creativity where we realize, maybe I can do some moves while I'm down on the ground. And maybe that's going to lead me to something new and transition into another beautiful story that I can then create or tell. So your perspective, your perception will create a filter in which you process all of your experiences. So change the way that you perceive things, change your perspective on life, change your perspective on yourself, and change your perspective over all other things. And then it's going to completely pass through an entirely different filter and give you an entirely different perception and experience. We'll attach completely different meanings to different things. And changing the way that you also perceive yourself is immensely powerful, because sometimes we have perspectives on ourselves that don't actually serve us and are not actually true, but we may have just attached meaning to past experiences and then created a perspective on ourselves that's not serving us in any way, shape, or form. So if we see ourselves as incompetent, everything that we do is going to pass through that filter. Even if we do something great, if we see ourselves as incompetent, we're just going to be like, that was a fluke. Time to go back to my incompetence. However you see yourself will create also the opportunity that you see for yourself. If you see yourself as incompetent, even if a great opportunity arises for you, if you see yourself as incompetent, you're not going to perform very well. They've actually done a study for children in school where they would take really smart kids, but then they would put them through a testing where they would say like, oh, this testing is super, super hard. You're likely not going to pass it. It's way above your grade, even though the test was a very average test for that grade, and they took all these smart kids, but they were like, this test is really difficult. And then they took that same test and they took kids who weren't as, they weren't getting as good grades. They took that same test and they told those kids, this is really easy. You're going to probably pass it with flying colors. You've seen these things before. And what they noticed is that the grade of the really smart kids who were told that this test is very tough scored much lower than their average, much lower, significantly lower. And then the kids who were told, this test is super easy. And even though that their average scores or grades in school were pretty low, when they were told this test is easy, you guys will pass it no problem, like it's really simple, they scored way higher than their average. So the story that you constantly tell yourself actually has a huge impact on your outcomes in life. It has a huge impact on the quality of things that you do. If you see yourself as incompetent, if you see yourself as shy, if you see yourself as insecure, if you see yourself as unworthy, those perspectives are going to play out in your actions. They're going to play out in your thoughts. They're going to play out in your decisions, your choices, everything. And of course, we all know that a simple choice in life can change your entire trajectory. There's sometimes a simple choice that we make in life that we don't realize is going to change our life in a drastic way. And so ask yourself, what perspectives do you want? Do you want the perspectives that are going to uplift you and they're going to raise the bar and create the more extraordinary version of yourself to come out? Do you want to see yourself in that way so you can allow your potential to actually be awakened and utilized? A lot of us have a lot of dormant potential within us. Dormant potential, meaning we haven't awakened it. We haven't utilized it because our perceptions of ourself are taking a lot of that power away. They're taking a lot of that potential away. So when we can shift our perspective to seeing ourselves as really competent, as really great, as capable, as loving, as nurturing, if you can change your perspective on yourself, if you can see yourself as worthy of success, worthy of greatness, your choices in life are going to change. Your level of competency is going to change. So another huge thing that you can do for yourself is to shift your perspective that you have on life and your perspective that you have on yourself. This is so powerful and so massive within the realm of changing your life. So this point actually leads me to my next point, which is all about taking your power back. So a lot of us have a lot of dormant potential, but if we shift our perspective, we bring more of our power back and we are able to utilize more of our potential. But another thing that we must do in order to call all of our power back is to let go of victimhood. Victimhood is such a detriment to us. Because when we're in the mind frame of victimhood, which is when we begin blaming external circumstances, when we blame other people, other things, or other events for our problems, we give our power away to those external things. It's the same thing as saying, I can't do anything because of that, because of this, which is literally giving all of your potential power away to that external thing. When we stay in victimhood and we blame other things, other people for our issues, we give all of our potential and all of our power to change away to those external things. And then we say, oh, unless those things change, I'll never change. All of your power is taken away. If you want to call your power back and if you want to change your life, if you want to do this, it's about letting go of victimhood and taking responsibility for your present moment. When you take responsibility for your present moment, that is when you call all of your power back. That is when you take all of your power back from any external thing that's ever happened to you. And that is when you give yourself all the energy and the power to change. But this requires no longer blaming. Don't blame anything else. Don't blame anything else outside of you. Start to just take responsibility. Say, you know what? Sure, those things may have influenced where I am right now, but they are not going to influence me on where I'm going because I can choose to take my power back, take responsibility for where I currently am. And this is where you can create change. And when we take responsibility for our present moment, this is something that, puts a lot of weight on our shoulders, but at the same time, that weight is also your power. That weight, you have the ability to transform it. You have the ability now to go and create and do anything that you desire. But you must take responsibility for your present moment. Right when you do that, that is when you give yourself all of the capacity to change. That is when you give yourself everything that you need in order to create any possible outcome for you. So for example, there's been a lot of successful people who come from many unfavorable circumstances. Very unfavorable circumstances. But if they in their life said, oh, I can't change because these things made my life really unfavorable, and if they stayed in that mindset, they would never get anywhere. But it's the moment that you take your power back by taking responsibility. It's the moment that you take responsibility for your present moment that you can completely change your trajectory. And this is when you can actually create change. We can't create change when we're blaming other things for our problems because that means that we have to wait for those things to change before we can change. But when we take responsibility for our present, we take all that power back and we realize, oh, I can change right now. I don't need to wait for anything else outside of me to change. I don't need to wait until these things decide to get fixed. I can go and completely dive somewhere else. I can go walk somewhere else. I can go dive into new circumstances, dive into new things. Right when you realize that you can do that, right when you realize that you can let go, You can let go of the past, you can let go of that. That's when you have the ability to change. And one of the most important things within this is actually letting go of the past. Let go of it. The more that we hold on to the past and we say, oh, the past made me who I am today. The past influenced me this way. The past influenced me that way. Like, the more that we do this, the more that we actually begin repeating the past and we stay in the past. The mind and the brain does not know the difference between thinking about something and actually living something. Whether you think about the past or the future, the brain is in that moment. So if you're constantly thinking about the past and allowing those emotions to resurface, you are literally in the past. The brain is in the past. Your mind is in the past. But if you can put your brain where you want to be and you can start focusing on that future, that is going to be the moment where your mind is now there. Your mind is in a whole new realm, in a whole new reality. So put yourself where you want to be, and then the body and the actions are going to follow. Another thing that I really want to talk about that is so important is about self-love and self-respect. This is something that is actually wildly important and influences what we do in our world, how we take care of ourselves. Of course, we know that if we want to create our best life, taking care of ourselves is everything. Health is wealth. When we don't have health, when we don't feel good about ourselves, we're not going to feel motivated to really do anything. We're not going to feel motivated to take care of ourselves if we have no respect for ourselves. We're not going to have the ability to say no to things that are bad for us if we don't respect ourselves. We're more likely to say yes to eating a crappy diet. We're more likely to say yes to things that are bad and toxic for us if we have a lack of self-respect and if we have a lack of self-love. That is when it's easy to say yes to certain things that we're just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care about it. I don't care about it. If you have something that you don't respect, you don't really care what happens to it. If you have, say you have like a really old piece of clothing that you're like, I really don't care about it. You don't care whether you like, throw it in the trash. You don't care if it like gets a stain on it. You're like, whatever, I don't care about this shirt anyway. But when you love something, when you cherish something, you're really careful about what happens to it. You're really careful about what situations you put it in, And when you really start to love yourself, really start to respect yourself, this is going to be where you have more ability to say no to the things that are bad for you and to start saying yes to the things that are good for you. Treat your body like a temple because it is. Start to love yourself. Start to see that soul and that spirit within you that has so much love within it, that has so much potential within it. Start to liven up that potential. Take care of yourself. The more that you begin to take care of yourself properly, the more self-love that you're going to get. And the more that you begin to love yourself and nourish yourself, the more that you're going to begin to take actions that are also good for you. And that will be when you start to set proper boundaries and proper values. Start to create better values for yourself. Start to create better respect for yourself. Start to create more love for yourself, whether that just be looking in the mirror and saying, I love me. I accept me. You have to love and accept yourself in the present moment before you're going to be willing to make changes that are good for you. If you hate yourself in the present moment, or if you dislike certain aspects of yourself, you're not going to find the motivation to change them. Why would we find the motivation to change something that we're absolutely we don't have any emotional connection to and that we're disliking so much? We're not going to feel like taking care of it, right? So when we can begin to love something, when we can begin to fill that with love, fill that with more value, that'll be when you're actually willing to make those proper, nourishing, healthy changes for yourself. Because you're going to respect yourself, you're going to love yourself. So accept yourself in the present moment. That's such a big, powerful thing. Accept and love who you are right now. Because as you do that, you're now going to have the energy to want to love yourself more, to want to create better choices and changes for yourself. You must begin to love yourself and accept yourself right now for who you are. That's going to give you the motivation to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself, to create better choices for yourself, and to start living a much more extraordinary, amazing life. You deserve that. You are worthy of that. You are worthy for who you are right now. You are love and worthy of love. You are love embodied for who you are right now. And the more that you begin to embody that, the more that you begin to accept that, this is going to be where you start to treat yourself more like a temple. A beautiful temple that deserves to be nourished and loved, not abused and used. So see yourself in a new way. Love and accept yourself. And this is an extremely powerful way to change your life. This is a life-changing choice that you can make, is to begin to love and accept yourself. And the last point that I want to say is about having fun, being silly, adding more fun back into life. When we take the fun away from life, we don't feel like doing anything. We feel more stagnant, and it kind of puts us in a rut. But when we can start having fun with life, that's when we're going to energize ourselves. That's when we're going to get excited for every moment. If we can see life as something that's a bit less serious and a little bit more fun and exciting, and we can see it as, life is a playground where we get to play, where we get to have fun, where we get to dance, where we get to sing, where we get to spread love. See life as something like this, because this perspective is going to shift everything. And when you fall down and make a mistake, we can laugh at it. We can learn and grow, but we can also have fun. We can also learn to see life in a way that brings us joy, because we all deserve that. Life is an experience. So what experience do you want to create? Let's create an experience where everything is fun for us. We create beauty, we create joy in every moment. What energy aspect do you want to contribute to the world? Do you want to contribute a feeling of love, a feeling of romance, a feeling of fun, a feeling of joy, of fulfillment, of prosperity, of abundance? What kind of energy do you want to bring into the world? A practice that I love to do every morning is to sit and ask myself the question of, what energy do I want to bring to the world today? And when I ask myself this and I go through a small process of meditation where I begin to embody that feeling, that has been such a wonderful practice for me, because it reminds me, how do I want to live today? What energy do I want to exude? What energy do I want to bring as part of this world today? And when you ask yourself this is such a powerful thing. And when you do this every morning, it'll be a reminder as you go through the day to bring that energy with you, to exude it in all moments, to uplift the world. That's always better. It's always better to uplift. And there's different ways of uplifting depending on what the moment is. And so you ask yourself, what do you want to bring to the world today? This will also be so transformative, because even if you make a mistake, we can now see it as something that's silly, like, oh, whoops, oh my goodness, gonna learn from that, not do that next time. My goodness, all right, let's go. We start to accept ourselves more. We also start to accept others more when we're in this state. Rather than being so harsh on ourselves or on the world. What viewpoint does that give us when we're harsh with ourselves and we're harsh with the world? What kind of experience does that create for ourselves and others? But when we can bring a sense of joy, a sense of fun, a sense of peace, a sense of sorry, my camera cut out there. But if we can bring a sense of joy, a sense of fun, a sense of silliness to the world, that's an energy that just uplifts. It makes us have a great time. And that experience is so much better than the experience of harshness, of judgment, of I need everything to be perfect, otherwise life is awful. Or I need everything to work out for me, because when the things don't, I feel like shit, that perspective isn't going to bring us much joy, nor is it going to help us in creating the life that we're trying to create. But when we can have that sense of joy, the sense of fun, that's going to help us in creating anything that we want. That's going to help us in feeling all of those good emotions and creating more of those good emotions in the world. So ask yourself every morning when you wake up, what energy do you want to bring to the world today? And sometimes when we wake up not feeling so good, sometimes we're going to wake up and feel like, I feel like I'm really low energy. What energy do I want to bring to the world? I don't know. But then just really ask yourself again, hey, what energy do I really actually want to bring to the world? And then just, if you want to shake up a stagnant mood that you might be in, just start dance. Just start feeling silly. Start laughing. Start laughing at your current emotional state. And just be like, oh my goodness, let me just change this up. Why am I being so rigid? Why am I being so stuck. And then let it change. Let it change, start smiling, and enjoy life. And I also just want to add that this doesn't mean that we should ignore our negative emotions. Our negative emotions are usually action signals that are telling us when we need to shift or change something in our life. So if we're feeling angry, there might be something that we either need to confront or listen to or realize that we might need to change our approach towards something. If we're feeling overwhelmed, it might be a signal for us that either we need to start delegating certain tasks or to stop expecting so much every single day. We might need to just spread things out, calm ourselves down, and realize that relaxation is also really important and really vital. And it is also something that is productive. Relaxation is so productive. We need rejuvenation. Imagine forcing yourself to stay awake and not get any sleep. That would cause a huge feeling of overwhelm. We know that rest and rejuvenation is so important. And rest and rejuvenation is more than just sleep. It's also, doing things that are decompressing for you, doing things that allow you to relax. So your negative emotions do serve a purpose. But when we can look at them from a perspective of, okay, let me see what this emotion is telling me, and then let me move on and move past and see what I can create as the solution. Your perspective over your issues or your bad problems change the way that you approach them and the way that you see them, and if you find solution or not. When we allow negative situations or negative emotions to just eat away at us and we say, why am I feeling this? This absolutely sucks. This sucks. I don't like feeling this way. And when we just have this perspective, it's not very productive. But when we can look at our angry emotions or negative emotions and we look at them from a place of, what can I learn from this? What is this showing me right now? And how can I change? How can I become better? When we can look at things from that place, that is a solution-based mindset. And even though our initial reactions might be, there's nothing I can do to make this better, I'm just stuck here. Even though our initial reactions might be that, sit with yourself for a second and really try to look for an answer. Really try to look for an answer, because when you do this, you will find your answer. Because you're predisposing yourself to a solution-based mindset rather than predisposing yourself to a negative, end-all, be-all, nothing can be done sort of mindset. So improve the type of questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis, especially when we're feeling more negative. Ask ourselves more productive questions so that we can return back to the fun, more exciting, and happy, joyful parts of life and parts of ourselves. And when it comes to achieving what you want, a lot of the times we're actually after emotions. We're not necessarily after a particular thing. We're chasing after the emotion that we think it's going to bring us. So when we can begin to embody those fun, amazing emotions right now in the present moment, it'll actually make it easier to achieve the things that we're wanting to achieve. And we're also creating fulfillment in the present moment, which makes life so much greater. So my beautiful loves, that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I am sending you so much love from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you got something out of this video, and I'll hopefully see you in my next one. Bye!